Next on Worcester News tonight, thousands come out to the Albanian Festival in Worcester, how the culture is being celebrated here. Plus, the Cannabis Control Commission is looking at the possibility of marijuana cafes, but some law enforcement agencies are concerned about the dangers they could create. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Brittany Schaefer. The Albanian Festival returns to Worcester for the next 3 days. The celebration is a showcase of Albanian culture. For volunteers, this weekend is their way of sharing their faith, music, and food with the rest of central Massachusetts. Our Cam Jandro is live from St. Mary's Albanian Orthodox Church. He joins us live now with more. Cam?
Brittany, this really has become one of the biggest festivals in the city of Worcester. This weekend, they're expecting between 15 and 20,000 people. So if you have a look behind me, you can see there are still hundreds of cars and people making their way in and out of the festival. And you don't have to be Albanian to get in this weekend. Worcester's Albanian Festival kicks off Friday, drawing a crowd of thousands.
We want the best for our city, we love our city, and we invite everyone to come and be Albanian for the day.
For more than a century, the city's Albanian community has been practicing their faith at St. Mary's Albanian Orthodox Church. Every other spring, the festival is a celebration of food, music, and all things Albanian.
To keep our traditional culture and songs and music, and our music is beautiful.
The Albanian ambassador to the United States traveled from Washington, D.C. to speak Friday. Floretta Faber has been to the city before, but this is her first festival.
Everyone wants to keep the roots where they come from, and this is the beauty of the United States. Everyone can come, it's very welcome, but they also can bring their own culture.
It's in its 36th year in Worcester. Faber says this is one of the oldest and largest gatherings of Albanians in the country.
Every festival has its own speciality, but has something in common. The Albanian people, the way they speak with each other and with their children.
We have many who are proud citizens, American citizens of Worcester, who do their best every day. And this festival belongs for them.
Now, if you didn't get a chance to go to the festival today, it starts again tomorrow at noon and it goes all the way till midnight. Starts again at noon on Sunday, and things wrap up for the next 2 years at 6. We're live in Worcester tonight. I'm Cam Jandro, Worcester News Tonight.
Recreational marijuana is legal in Massachusetts, and the state's Cannabis Control Commission is looking into the possibility of social consumption sites. The idea is still in its early stages, but some police departments say they are concerned it may be too soon, and there are other issues around marijuana they need to deal with first. Our Rosalind Flaherty has the story.
Marijuana cafes could someday be the new normal in Massachusetts. The Cannabis Control Commission says the social consumption proposal is still under consideration.
The commission voted to move the proposal forward to consider in our draft regulations.
Commissioner Jennifer Flanagan says it includes 12 sites to use in a pilot program. The facilities would allow people to purchase and consume marijuana inside.
Those sites would be determined by the people who sat on the working group, and from there we'd be able to take a look at the data and see how it went, and then take a look at any concerns that we might have going forward.
Webster Police Chief Michael Shaw says while he isn't opposed to these cafes, he says there needs to be better regulations around impaired driving because towns are still struggling with it, and thinks communities need to focus on legalization of marijuana first.
We need to come up with some good tests for that, for the officers on the street to use that. Let's get that process going. I mean, a lot of towns are still struggling with that. And then let's get into this, to the social aspect of consumption in public premises.
He says they are fortunate enough to have a drug recognition expert on staff in Webster, but not every police department has one.
Depending on other resources to do that.
Flanagan says she thinks the Cannabis Control Commission should wait to open the cafes, saying the commission needs to focus on what they are doing now in terms of licenses and dispensaries.
Certainly under the mandate we need to consider social consumption cafes. However, I think that we need more time to vet that process.
The trial of the mother charged with murdering 2 of her babies and leaving their remains in a squalid home begins next week. 35-year-old Erica Murray is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Her lawyer, Keith Halpern, is raising an insanity defense. In 2014, neighbors described the Blackstone House of Horror as covered in feces. Investigators found skeletal remains of 3 babies and a dog in closets. The remaining 4 children were taken into custody of the Department of Children and Families. An East Brookfield man is indicted by a federal grand jury this week on charges for illegally flying a helicopter in and out of his yard. 59-year-old Antonio Santonastasio was arrested earlier this month when neighbors complained about him flying the helicopter from his home. Court documents show his pilot's license was revoked in the year 2000 after he participated in the theft of a helicopter. Santonastasio was indicted on several charges, including serving as an airman without an airman certificate and making false statements to federal agents. New developments in a decades-old murder case. Lawyers for the Massachusetts man who spent more than 35 years behind bars for the murder now says DNA evidence proves his innocence. And as Alicia Palumbo reports, they're now asking for a new trial.
We believe that it is never too late to do justice.
DNA evidence from a 4-decade-old Milford murder case could now exonerate the only man still living in prison convicted of the crime. The New England Innocence Project and Ropes and Gray law firm filed motions on behalf of Gary Cifazari in Worcester Superior Court Friday. They say the DNA now proves that Gary and his brother Michael Cifazari, who has since died, could not have been responsible for their aunt's 1979 murder in her Milford apartment.
There was semen and saliva that was found on the victim's nightgown. That semen and saliva was tested for DNA.
They say that testing came back with a match to Michael Giroux, the original suspect in this murder.
He knew the victim because his sister-in-law and brother-in-law lived upstairs from the victim. He had broken into the victim's apartment a year before this.
Giroux died in 2014. Advocates for Gary Cifazari say he is now hopeful he will be exonerated and released after more than 35 years in prison.
We have an opportunity here to right a really great wrong and to free a man who never should have gone to prison in the first place.
The Worcester County District Attorney's Office released a statement saying, "We are in the process of reviewing the motion, evidence, and additional testing that has been and can be performed with modern science. We want to make sure we get this right. We're committed to justice, and we will continue to work with defense counsel to ensure justice is done." The New England Innocence Project hopes to have a hearing on this matter sometime in June. At Worcester Superior Court, Alicia Palumbo, Worcester News Tonight.
A new report looks at the possibility of allowing cell phones back into the state's courthouses. The Massachusetts Access to Justice Commission released the report. It looks at ways to allow cell phones while addressing security concerns. The group worked with the state's trial court. It cites how full bans create, quote, unacceptable hardship on users of the justice system. Attorney Michael Ehrlich says he believes cell phones should be allowed.
You know, as long as you have a policy that you cannot pull out your phone in a courtroom, certainly if it's during a hearing or a trial, it's pretty easy to see. The courtrooms aren't normally really filled up during those events. So, you know, I think you have a policy in place that would take care of any security issues from that perspective.
Several courthouses ban cell phones because of security issues. Exceptions are made for employees, lawyers, police officers, jurors, and the media. An old factory building in the city's Canal District is being transformed into apartments. According to the Telegram, the former shoe factory on Water Street sold for $600,000 Thursday to Anthony Rossi. The Chelsea-based developer plans to turn this space into 62 studio apartments. The estimated cost is close to $7 million. We've all heard breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but for some, getting the necessary food isn't easy. It's why St. Vincent Hospital is hosting their annual cereal drive. The Healthy Over Hungry cereal drive starts June 7th, but the hospital got a head start collecting dozens of cereal boxes at the Bravehearts opening game Thursday night. Associate Chief Nursing Officer Robert Reddy says it's important to support those less fortunate in the community.
One of the things we know, when school lets out, the need for breakfast continues, but the kids are not at school to always get a healthy breakfast. So us doing the cereal drive during the summer months is particularly important for our local community, so that the donations that we do here, even though it's a national campaign for Tenet Health System, we know that our local donations go to our local children and benefits them. So that's super exciting for us.
The drive is from June 7th through the 14th, with all donations benefiting the Worcester County Food Bank. Hospital staff and the public are welcome to participate. A wide variety of food and cold beer is coming to the Worcester Commons Saturday. The 8th annual Food Truck and Craft Beer Festival, organized by the Food Truck Festivals of America, starts at noon behind City Hall. The Common will be hosting popular food trucks from all over Massachusetts and have craft beers from New England region and across the country. The event will also have games for all ages. First responders will receive free admission with a valid ID.